So apparently talking about the buying habits of Gen Z has become a controversial topic over on Threads. Last week, I posted a thread talking about how to sell to Gen Z and the things that they like and don't like, and the comment section blew up. So this may be more of a hot take, spicy brandy episode that you're getting today, but I want to talk about the comments, why they were made, and why I feel strongly that you should care about Gen Z because they are coming up fast into our marketplace. And if you're ignoring them, you're leaving thousands of dollars on the table. Okay, so you're probably dying to know, Brandy, what did you post that caused so much drama over on Threads? Well, I didn't think it was going to cause that much drama, to be honest. Talking about Gen Z or the buying habits of couples in our marketplace doesn't exactly seem like a controversial topic, but apparently it is. So the thread that I posted was Gen Z couples don't want to inquire for pricing. They want clarity, speed, and a seamless booking process. If your inquiry process is confusing, they'll move on. So some of the comments that we got, I loved, right? I mean, I loved all the comments because over on Threads, that's where the hot debates happen. That's where everybody has an opinion. And we all know that it's the most difficult thing in the world that if you don't agree with something, you just keep scrolling. That's not really how it works on most of social media, and it's definitely not how it works on Threads. Everyone has to drop in with their opinion, and I'm here for it because I love talking about these kind of topics that are affecting our industry. So some of the comments that we got were, I'm a millennial and this is me too. And I was like, yeah, I'm a zennial. I mean, I call myself a zennial because I don't really want to be Gen X, but I was born on the cusp year, okay? So I can be a zennial, but I buy like that too. I want to know what I'm getting into before I even reach out. I want to have an idea of the cost, and then I want to have a sales call, see if it's the perfect fit for me, and buy. I'm every salesperson's dream because by the time I've reached out for a sales call, I know enough to know that if the sales call goes well, I'm buying within 60 seconds of getting off the call or even during the call, right? Like I'm every salesperson's dream. I always say that because I'm like, I am well researched before I go into the call in the first place. And there's nothing more frustrating or that will make me bounce faster than not being able to get the information that I need to make that decision ahead of time. And I'm not even near Gen Z, right? So this is something that I think a lot of generations value, but here with this newest generation, it's actually becoming like a deal breaker because they are the first generation who's only known a life with social media and with technology in their hand. And that means that they have always been used to being able to get any information that they need or want immediately. They don't have to wait for it. They don't have to schedule a call. And while this strategy of getting someone on a call with no idea what your cost or what you deliver is might have worked 20 years ago when the only way that we could get information was by calling somebody or reading a printed article about them or an advertisement about them, right? So that strategy may have worked 20 years ago. And listen, if it's still working for you today, I'm not the right coach for you. I don't know why you're listening to my podcast and I don't know why you're on my threads, right? Like I'm clearly not the right coach for you because I'm going to tell you that's wrong. But if it's working for you, more power to you. Bless and release. Go have fun. Kill it. I wish you all the best. I know. I told you guys you were getting spicy brandy today, right? If you're feeling like the economy is causing you to constantly get ghosted and need to consistently drop your prices just to get bookings, I have some news for you. It's not the economy, it's your sales strategy, and I'm here to help you fix it. I created a brand new free training where I'm going to share the exact strategy I use and I teach to thousands of wedding pros who have been able to double their wedding bookings in less than 30 days using this strategy. It's called the Assume Method, and if you're not using it, you're leaving thousands of dollars on the table. This isn't just another fluffy course. This is raw, actionable CEO level strategy. Whether you're new, struggling, or ready to hit your next six figures, this training will change the game for your business. But don't wait, because the top 1% of wedding pros aren't just good at their craft, they're good at running their business. And if you're ready to join them, I'll see you in the training. What I thought was interesting about one of the first comments that I got on this thread, and I was out of pocket when I posted this. So I posted it and then I was out of pocket for most of the day. So I didn't see it till later in the day. And I was just kind of like, like I'm reading it and I was like, is this comment meant to be a genuine question? Because it doesn't really seem like it's framed that way, but I really try to believe the best in people, right? Like text can be taken out of context. I try to believe the best in people. So I was like, yeah, maybe they're genuinely asking for clarification. So I'm going to give it, but here's what they wrote, ... And you know this, how? In all caps? Do you have empirical data to back up this claim? Factual evidence? You seem to be well positioned in the industry, so I'm guessing you're willing and able to provide some insights that corroborate your statement. Okay, so take that as you will, but I thought, I mean, they are asking for data, right? They're asking if I just made this up. And if you know me, if you've listened to my podcast for any length of time, you know that I always say I'm a data girly and I'm a business coach. I take that very seriously. I don't just come on here and whimsically tell you guys things that I just think or that have only affected my business or that I kind of just like gut feeling made up one day. I don't come on here and do that. And if I do, I'm telling you like, hey, this is kind of my hunch. This is what I think might be coming, right? I tell you that. But when I make a statement like this, like here's Gen Z's buying habits, it's because I've been studying this. Why am I studying it? Because they are the next buying generation in our marketplace. And I say next, but in reality, they're here. I've done several episodes on Gen Z, so I would love for you to go back and watch some of those episodes where I really dig into their buying habits. But what you need to know is that here in 2025, the oldest Gen Z are about 27, 28 years old. And depending on what type of couples you serve in the marketplace, you're literally selling to them right now. My company, Blush, we typically serve a little bit more mature of a client. So we typically are serving late 20s, early 30s. So we're just now starting to see this Generation Z in our sphere, in our sales funnel. But if you serve a client that's early, mid, late 20s, you definitely, like this generation is making up the bulk of your market, right? And so by not researching them, by not understanding their buying habits and how they're different from millennials, you're really doing a disservice to your company and leaving thousands of dollars on the table. So all that to say, of course, I thought, let me believe the best in this post, right? Let me say, yeah, they probably just want me to drop some data so that they can also understand these deeper buying habits of Gen Z, right? So I drop in and I say, there's actually lots of articles that talk about the buying habits of Gen Z. One of them, which I did a whole podcast on several months ago, is the Not Wedding Trends report, right? They talked a lot about the buying habits of Gen Z, but one that I really have enjoyed reading, it's an article by EcoCart, and it is literally called 42 Statistics on Gen Z Spending Habits. Now, this is not directly focused on the wedding industry, right? It doesn't need to necessarily be, but it is focused on the buying habits and the spending habits of Gen Z. And so I loved this article. It was written last year, mid 2024. And some of the things that it says, all retail brands should be paying attention to Gen Z spending habits this year. Now that they've gotten their degrees and entered the workforce, we're beginning to see the shape of their views and desires. Like every generation before, they will one day transform American society. So it's important that we pay attention to their priorities. Gen Z spending power will shape retail over the next decade. And the reason that I wanted you to hear that part of the conversation is because as we get into some of these comments, I think that they're hysterical. I don't know any of us who are in business just for today. Yes. Are we really focused on the buyers that are in our marketplace today? Yes, for sure. But are we also forward looking and thinking, what can we change about the way we sell, the way we market, the way we brand ourselves, the way we've built our team, the way we position our pricing, all of our strategies? We should always be forward thinking. Who are we selling to? What do they want? What do they like? How is it working in our sales funnel? How's our marketing funnel working, right? Like as business owners, we shouldn't just be thinking about today. If you are, you're already behind. We should be forward thinking as to what we need to do to continue growing our businesses. So when they say Gen Z is going to shape buying over the next decade, this is who we're looking at, right? This is the generation that we should be looking at. Even though Gen Z is still young, their spending power is significant. Their current spending power is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, hundreds of billions. And as they get older, this number will only increase. On top of this, younger Gen Z holds influence over older generations as their boomer, Gen X, and millennial family members purchase gifts and even necessities. Gen Z is an important demographic that companies, especially those in e-commerce, must pay attention to. This is huge, you guys. To ignore this generation, to not think about it, is a disservice to your own business, right? And again, this is what I want you to understand is you have to know as a business owner, who do you serve? Who is your demographic? What is the average age range of your ideal client? If it's 30s, then you're not here yet, right? This is coming up, but you're still very much serving a millennial. But if you serve early, mid, late 20s, these are your people. These are your people. These are the people you should be focused on and how they're spending. So it's not just that Gen Z is a totally different generation than millennials and they do have different buying habits. It's also that Gen Z snuck into the marketplace. So when I first started my business back in 2007, all we talked about was how to sell to millennials. Literally every comment, conference, every article, every blog, everything, everyone was telling you how to sell to millennials, right? And so what's interesting is that there's actually very little data or emphasis being put on how to sell to Gen Z. And the reason for that, I believe, is because they became adults during the pandemic shutdown, during the COVID shutdown. That's when they became adults and came into the marketplace. We were so focused on just how to survive that we didn't realize all of a sudden they're 28 years old and they're here. Like they're already buying, it's huge. And so we really haven't put a lot of emphasis on this. And I love helping wedding business owners to understand their client, like understand what they want from them, the strategies that are working. And so understanding the buying habits of this newest generation is a really big piece of that. So I've been talking about this, honestly, probably for a year now. If you go back and look at different podcasts, different YouTubes that we've done, you'll see that I talk about this a lot. I talk about Gen Z a lot, and I'm not going to stop doing that. Anyway, I dropped the article. I kind of said Gen Z snuck into the marketplace while we were all focused on the pandemic. I dropped the articles, blah, 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 right? So this is where it got interesting, and this is why I decided to do an episode on this, because I was like, okay, so I'm thinking the best. I'm like, I'm going to drop the data. Yes, I have the data. Of course I do. Feel free to look at it or Google. I mean, like there's literally millions of articles on this. And so the response was, why do you have such a focus on Gen Z? The article you cited said Gen Z contributed to a whopping 5% of all spending in the US, with the oldest Gen Z being 28, barely entering into the average marriage age range. Why focus on such a small market share? Before I go on to tell you why I'm focused on this, I think you already know. I love that someone actually responded before I could, which I love, and kind of jumped in and said, why so much focus on disputing what she's saying here? Gen Z is of marrying age, as you just mentioned. If you don't intend to service Gen Z clients, that's fine, but she wasn't wrong here to post about the newest generation trends. And so then he comes back again and says, again, Gen Z accounts for 5, in all caps, % of total spending. I'm an educator and teach workshops too. That's such a niche market to be focused on. It's odd advice. Okay, so here's my thing. Again, I told you guys, you're getting spicy brandy today, right? So here's my thought. This article does say that Gen Z accounts for 5% of all buying. Why? Because they are not a huge piece when you consider that there are still millennials, Gen X, and boomers all still in the marketplace. So yes, Gen Z makes up for 5% of total spending in all of America, because these are US-based statistics, right? It's not global. So yes, they make up for 5%. However, that's expected to more than triple over the next 5 years, first of all. So let's start there. And second of all, the article and what I was saying is really meant to say, if you know your client, this could be a much larger piece of the pie for you. If you service young, mid, or late 20s, so I thought it was kind of funny that he was like, they're barely of marrying age. I'm like, what? Like there are literally tens of thousands of couples who get married before the age of 28, like tens of thousands, right? And if you know that that's your demographic, this is making up a much larger piece of the pie for you. So you do need to be focused more on, how am I selling to this generation? What strategies do I need to change in my sales funnel, in my marketing funnel, how I speak to them, the way that I'm converting them, the way that I'm servicing them? All of these things are so, so important. And even if they're not that larger pie for you, even if you are serving a more mature couple, this generation is coming into your marketplace. You're going to start seeing them in your sales funnel any day now. They will be making up a large percentage of your buyers over the next 5 years. And I don't know about you, but I didn't build a business that would go away tomorrow. I'm building a business that has long-term planning, long-term strategy. I plan to still be around 5 years from now. And the only way to do that is to make sure that I'm staying on trend, that I'm staying up with the strategies, that I understand who my buyers are and how they buy, and what their buying habits are, and what they're looking for in my company. Okay, well, friends, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of What the Heck Happened on Threads last week. And if you want to understand a little bit more about how Gen Z buys, I want you to go watch this video on exactly how Gen Z purchases and what they're looking for from their wedding vendors. We're going to tag it here. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you always know when we drop a new tutorial on how to grow and scale your profitable wedding business. I'll see you next time.